Point Park Soccer continues conference play. NFL Week 6 delivers standout performances, and a college team parts ways with his head coach. It's time to come on down to Pioneer Sideline. Good evening and welcome to Pioneer Sideline. I'm your host, Bryn Reese, coming at you live for another week of sports news. We have all the Point Park news for you, and later, local and national news, followed by conversations of the NFL season. To start, Edmie Idalis reports on how Point Park women's soccer performed in its recent matchup. Edmie?
That's right, Bryn. This past Sunday, Point Park traveled to play against West Virginia Wesleyan for a Mountain East Conference matchup. Women's soccer started their game off strong with 2 goals by the 20th minute, but it wasn't enough to secure the win. Within 30 seconds of the game starting, Rebecca Pilgrim scored the first goal of the game. The Pioneers maintained this lead for just 18 minutes before Wesleyan came back to tie the game. Senior captain Paula Soleil put a stop to that tie fast as she found the back of the net just 1 minute later. The score stayed 2-1 to Point Park for the remainder of the first half, well into the second half, before the scoreboard changed. In the 71st minute, Wesleyan made its move and tied the game for good, leaving the score 2-2. The Pioneers are headed back to home turf this Wednesday for their MEC matchup against Concord University, kicking off at 1 p.m. On Sunday, they will travel to Charleston, West Virginia for another MEC matchup, this time going up against Charleston University at 3 p.m. Good luck, Pioneers! For more Point Park updates, Ryan Quinn has the latest details on the cross-country teams. Ryan?
That's right, Edmie. Cross-country competed in the Carnegie Mellon Invitational last Saturday at the Youthtown Fields. Both the men and the women's teams were able to finish 4th out of 18 teams. The headliner was the Pioneers' Cassandra O'Connor, who was the runner-up in the women's 5K with a time of 17 minutes and 8 seconds, just losing out on first place against Glenville State's Natalie Barr. Freshman Aubrey Smith was able to get a top 20 finish with her time of 18 minutes and 9 seconds. The 3 teams who were able to place better than the Pioneers on the women's side were Edinboro, Ashland, and Slippery Rock University. On to the men's AK, which was led by Elijah Bechtel, placing 13th with a time of 25 minutes and 24.4 seconds. Point Park was able to get 2 more top 25 finishes, with Chase Bowen getting 20th and Luke McKenna placing 24th. Now, Point Park has 2 weeks to prepare for the MEC Cross Country Championships happening on October 25th at the Ogle Bay Resort and Crispin Golf Course at Wheeling, West Virginia. The women will run a 6K at 9:30 a.m. and the men will do an 8K at 10:30. Back to you at the desk, Bryn.
Yes, now I had the chance to meet with Point Park women's wrestling coach to gain some insight on how the team is preparing for its introductory season. Let's take a look. In Point Park women's wrestling's inaugural season, Coach Joseph Lamplaw is focused on more than just wins. He's focused on building a culture. The team meets 6 times a week, and each Monday the wrestlers don't even hit the mat. They take part in what Lamplaw calls Mindset and Experience Mondays. This time allows for personal development and to discuss mental topics with his wrestlers, including mental health, yoga, and entrepreneurship. On Monday, the team discussed the concept of creating an alter ego to tap into at meets, a technique widely used by many professional athletes. Lamplaw also touched on sleep recovery and bodily health. Mindset and Experience Mondays are just one piece of Lamplaw's greater goal. He shared, quote, "My life and coaching mission is to provide opportunities for those that normally wouldn't have them," end quote. He said that this philosophy applies both on and off the mat. Women's wrestling will make its all-time debut on November 1st in Tiffin, Ohio. Now that's all for Point Park sports, but what's happening in the week ahead? We have a busy week ahead of us full of home matchups, including a soccer doubleheader versus Concord tomorrow at 1 and 3:30 p.m. Volleyball also faces Concord at home on Friday, then remains in downtown Pittsburgh to take on Glenville State on Saturday afternoon. Then men's soccer closes the week out on Sunday afternoon versus Wheeling at home as well. Tune in for more Pioneer updates right here next week, and as always, roll Nears. After the break, more of what's happening in the sports world. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, multiple Sideline members have an update on a local high school football matchup. Let's see what it's all about.
We have a tough WPIAL 1A matchup on our hands between the Bishop Canevin Crusaders and the Fort Cherry Rangers. The first score of the game comes from Penn State commit Matt Sieg as he makes a couple defenders miss, reverses field, and runs for a 70-yard score to give Fort Cherry the lead 7-0. Bishop Canevin's first score comes from a 77-yard pass from Brady Wagner that was hauled in by DeMar Olds. A missed extra point would keep Fort Cherry ahead in this one, 7-6. The Rangers kept their foot on the gas in the first half, scoring 3 more touchdowns, including a 61-yard rushing score by Eli Salvini. Matt Sieg's efforts in the first half helped them reach the WPIAL leader for career offensive yardage, previously held by Lenny Williams of Stowe Rocks back in 2014. Fort Cherry would lead the first half up 28-12 before defeating Bishop Canevin 56-19. The footage for this matchup was captured by Ryan Quinn, Ethan Rowinski, and Nathan Shivens as Fort Cherry remains undefeated in their conference. I'm Jake Bell, reporting for you here on Pioneers Sideline.
Now for more local news, Ethan Van Dusen is here to talk at the desk about recent updates with the Pittsburgh Penguins.
The Penguins start off their 2025-2026 campaign with 2 decisive wins, but fall short to the New York Rangers in blowout fashion. They are currently tied for 4th place in the Metropolitan with 4 points. The Pens will look to add on to that point total as they head down west to face the Anaheim Ducks, Los Angeles Kings, and San Jose Sharks. A key player for the Penguins, Chris Letang, suffered a lower body injury in their last game against the Rangers. However, the Pens receive good news as Chris travels to the West Coast with the team and, according to sources, may be able to suit up tonight against the Ducks. The Penguins look to set the tone for this season as they begin their first major road trip of this season. The Penguins were 13-21-7 on the road last year and would love to change that script and pick up some points. Luckily for them, all 3 opponents are not playing great hockey to start the season, so the Penguins will look to take advantage of that. Now joining me at the desk, Ryan Jones, to talk about the Penguins and what to expect on their upcoming road trip. Ryan, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So what do you expect from this Penguins team on this West Coast road trip?
Well, so right off the bat, I mean, we only lost 1 game on the year. Now, I know we're only 3 games in, but we need to have 6 points here. We need to start winning early because when it comes down to the end of the year, and yes, I'm already talking about the end of the year, we want to make sure we're in that playoff spot and we're not worrying about other teams. Now, what we got to do is we got to come in there, we got to play a full 200-foot game, and we have to play a full 60 minutes. What this team has struggles with is we play a good first period, partially into the second, but especially if we have that lead, we start to lay off a little bit, and that's when the attacks start to come against our favor. And it's just not good looking for the Penguins if they're not going to play that full 60 minutes, so that's what I think we need to do.
Yeah, you mentioned the 6 points. I think we both know that these 3 teams that they're going against have not been playing great hockey so far. What is a team that kind of scares you going into this road trip that might take 2 points away from the Penguins?
A team that really scares me is the LA Kings. Now, I know tonight we face against the Ducks, who have been a little bit iffy, but the Kings, on the other hand, which we're going to be playing Thursday night in LA, that team is really fast. Now, not only do they have a bunch of young players, but like I said that the Penguins need to do, they play a full 200-foot game. And the Kings are amazing when it comes to that aspect. You got guys like Quentin Byfield, Anze Kopitar's in his last year. They want to win. They came off last year not really doing too good. They lost to the Oilers for the 4th consecutive year in the playoffs. Now, the Penguins need to use the momentum, catch them off guard, but they're going to be a super hard team to go against.
Yeah, like you said, this team's very fast, and they're well coached as well. And you can see all the lines, they play together and they play as a team. So you look at the Ducks and the San Jose Sharks, not playing great hockey to start the season. What do you think from those 2 games in particular? Do you think the Ducks can come out with a strong start? They're a young team, uprising, but they're looking for points here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the Ducks are going to come out super hot and probably catch us off guard. Now, the thing is, they just lost Trevor Zegras as he went to the Flyers in the offseason. That was their best player. That's all the Ducks really had, in my opinion. So they're going to want to use that momentum and say, hey, Zegras, see ya, we never needed you, and they're going to need to put that pressure on and show Zegras who's the better team.
Well, Ryan, thank you for joining me on the booth.
Thank you.
Now, for our weekly NFL report, Gabe tells us what we need to know from Week 6. Gabe?
That's right, Ethan. Week 6 saw game-winning kicks and a running back getting his licks in against his former squad. Let's start with the latter. Dowdle dominates Dallas, Rico's revenge. Carolina Panthers running back Rico Dowdle spent last season rushing 1K for Dallas, but chose to spend this weekend running all over them boys, going for 234 yards in last week's win. It was going to be hard for Rico to top that Offensive Player of the Week outing, but consistency would be key for Dowdle. Only a single touch over 15 yards, but a whopping half of them, 17 of his 34, gained 7 yards plus. First half, 13 carries converted to 80 rushing yards, but Carolina still found themselves in a 17-13 hole. Coming out of the break, Dowdle took matters and this Bryce Young ball into his own hands. 36 yards to the house, Carolina on top. Next drive, Dowdle would eclipse 100 rushing yards in quarter 3, but entered the fourth trailing by 4. Well, all aboard the Rico Express for the final period. He'd horse a dozen carries, setting up the go-ahead score and the game-winning field goal. The chip from 33, 4-3, up and good. Carolina moves to a surprising 500 on the year. Rico Dowdle tops last week's A-plus performance with 239 yards, franchise record against his former team. The Cowboys only mustered 31 yards on 19 carries for the game. They let a good running back get away. Dowdle forcing discussions to be had regarding the injured Chuba Hubbard's impending return. He's accounted for more than half of the squad's 400-plus yards in the past 2 weeks. Top 5 in rushing yards, keep running, Rico, because Carolina is favored for the first time this season next week on the roads against the Jets. Meanwhile, a Monday night matchup between 2024's top 2 picks. We all remember how Bears Commanders' first chapter finished last year. Run it back, it's a top 2 duel. With a monsoon in Maryland mucking up the Commanders' home stadium, only 3 punts were in this contest. Bears dominate the first 5 possessions, 3 scores and 2 turnovers. Montez Sweat comes in to meet Krosky Merritt here, setting up Caleb Williams. Into the end zone is Williams from a single yard out. Bears up 13-0 after the QB keeper. Washington, it's time to wake up. Chris Moore for the score, getting a step and 6 to snap the drought. In today's 50-yard field goal range after Chicago fails to meet the chains, but Matt Gay bricks it off the left upright. Halftime, it's 13-7 the Shy. Swapping made field goals out the break. Then, for the lead, it's little bro Luke McCaffrey. 33 yards, it's McCaffrey's 3rd score on just 8 catches this year. Bears have a chance to take the lead, but Daron Payne denies Jake Moody. Washington drives well into Bears territory for the 5th straight possession, and Jaden Daniels, 3rd air score of the game, finding veteran tight end Zach Ertz. But the Bears answer swiftly. DeAndre getting into space and scoring from 55 out, Chicago comes knocking. With a 3rd and 1 at the 3-minute mark in Chicago territory again, Daniels never gets a firm hold on the soaked football, and it's a costly mistake. A pair of nifty DeAndre Swift totes setting up Jake Moody for a 38-yarder, knuckles it through, Bears on top 25-24 to move to 3-2. Hats off to Ben Johnson and QB1. They get it done on the road. Back to you at the desk, Bryn.
And that's all for local and NFL news this week. When we come back, more breaking sports news. Don't go anywhere.
Take them, cue them, open their mics.
Today marked the 1-year anniversary of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette strike.
Point Park University just hosted a campus-wide meeting.
Plans for the rapid transit bus line are not set to conclude until 2025.
Welcome back. Now with what's new nationally, Layla Shervon has the info on the conclusion of the WNBA season. Layla?
This year's WNBA Finals brought emotion, intensity, and history in the making. The Las Vegas Aces have swept their finals competition once again, showing everyone there's no doubt they run the league. The Aces claimed their title last Friday after their 4-game sweep against the Phoenix Mercury. Aces head coach Becky Hammon led her team to their 3rd victory in 4 years and is considered one of the greatest coaches in the league. New York Times even called Hammon, quote, an architect of a WNBA dynasty, end quote. Meanwhile, on the other side of the court, Mercury's head coach Nate Tibbetts was ejected from Game 4 of the finals after losing his temper, getting in a referee's face, and yelling at her. After the incident, he was issued 2 technical fouls and soon after escorted off the court. As for the Aces, their star player, A'ja Wilson, showed out this season, making WNBA history and becoming a confirmed generational great. Wilson broke several records this season, including having the most points and rebounds in a single season, setting a new league scoring average, becoming the first ever player in the WNBA history to have a 30-point, 20-rebound game, and winning MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and Finals MVP all in one season. After her incredible performance, it is safe to say she is one of the greatest WNBA players of all time. Coach Hammond had a lot to say about her star and stated in a press conference, quote, "You have your Mount Rushmore, but she's alone on Everest," end quote. Wilson is a standout player, teammate, and role model for the future of the WNBA. From the start of the finals to the last buzzer, this was more than just another title for the Aces. It's a dynasty in motion. Which NCAA move shocked the sports world? Ryan Thiele has the news. Ryan?
You heard that correctly. Another college football week in the books, another breaking news story, this time out of State College. Penn State has fired head coach James Franklin following a stunning loss to Northwestern. Franklin's departure comes with a $56.7 million buyout, making one of the most expensive coaches exits in college football history. At Penn State, his 11-year career can be broken up into 3 categories: the good, the bad, and the ugly. Starting with the good, having 104 wins to 45 losses overall, 64-36 versus Big Ten, 8 double-digit win seasons, 5 top 10 finishes, 5 bowl wins, and 1 Big Ten championship. The bad, 1-10 against Ohio State, 3-7 against Michigan, and the ugly, 2-21 against AP Top 6, 4-21 against the AP Top 10. The fallout for the program has been imminent. Once ranked number 2 in the class of 2027, Penn State has now plummeted in the rankings and faces major setbacks. Several top recruits have decommitted, including 5-star Keon Spell, 4-star Jamin Robinson, both from McKeesport, 4-star quarterback Matt Seek, who recently broke WPIAL records at Fort Cherry, and 4-star prospect Khalil Taylor from Pine Richland. Also in the class of 2026, 4-star David Davis from Imani Christian Academy also decommitted. The Nittany Lions now face a crucial offseason needing to rebuild both leadership and recruitment movements, moving the program to be more stabilized after the shocking tournament events. Next, Megan Lucius has news on which big-time young star got a big-time contract. Megan?
That's right. The NHL's Rookie of the Year from last season is going to be staying in Montreal for a while. On Monday, the Montreal Canadiens announced that they signed 21-year-old defenseman Lane Hutson to an 8-year contract extension that carries an average annual value of $8.85 million. In his rookie season, Hutson played all 82 games and put up 66 points, which put him as the Canadiens' all-time leader for points from a rookie defenseman and has him sitting 5th in NHL history. Hutson was close to breaking another rookie record as he tied Hall of Famer Larry Murphy for most assists by a rookie D-man with 60. In addition to leading all NHL rookies in points and assists, Hutson was also the rookie leader in power play points with 26 and average ice time with 22 minutes and 44 seconds. Hutson helped Montreal sneak into the Stanley Cup playoffs as the second wildcard team at the end of last season, but the Canadiens were ultimately defeated by the Washington Capitals in 5 games. Hutson's extension continues to show the Montreal Canadiens' commitment to their current core, consisting of players such as Cole Caulfield, Juraj Slavkovsky, and Nick Suzuki. Several of their top players, including those 3, are now locked up until at least 2030. With the NHL season still young, Hutson is looking to help lead the Canadiens back to the playoffs for a second straight year, telling the media on Monday, quote, "I have belief that we aren't far off from being a team that can be a Stanley Cup championship team," end quote. Hutson also said that he believes the Canadiens are heading in a great direction, and his signing of this contract extension is certainly evident of that belief. Back to you at the desk, Bryn.
And that is all for your national stories this week. Finally, we debate who the legitimate contenders are this season in the NFL in our Case of the Week right after this. Welcome back. NFL Week 6 is under wraps, and we're getting a better idea of who the true contenders are in the league. I'm joined by Ethan, Ryan Quinn, and Marcus to debate this topic. So I want to start out, guys, kind of get a feeler for who are your contenders in the NFL now that Week 6 is over. Ethan, we'll start with you.
For me, I like the Lions, I like the Chiefs, and I like the Bills. I think when it comes down to contenders, it comes down to the best quarterbacks that can lead their team. I like Josh Allen, obviously won MVP last year, having another great season. Patrick Mahomes did struggle last year and struggle a little bit to begin the season, but for me, he's still Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And the Lions, just an overall really good team. They're coached well. Dan Campbell, he just brings intensity, and he gets the best out of his players. So for me, those three teams are probably my favorites.
All right, Ryan?
I would have to agree with like all three of those. And another one I want to bring up is the Chargers. I believe that they have, like you said you need a good QB to lead your team, and I believe the Chargers have the ability to do that in Justin Herbert, and they're coached really well. I know they're coming off a couple of injuries, but I believe that team is really well as the Colts. I've been very surprised by what Daniel Jones has been doing lately, and I feel like if he's able to continue that and be able to keep progressing like he's doing and how that team's been playing overall, I believe they have a good shot at making it far as well.
Yeah, Marcus?
My lead argument is for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The culture that has been established in Pittsburgh by Aaron Rodgers, Mike Tomlin, and company is that of a take care of business type of attitude, and that is something that every NFL team should be able to admire. The defense has always been the stalwart of the Pittsburgh organization, dating back from the very beginning in the early 1930s. But the offense has always been catered to a veteran quarterback who knows every defense known to man. That's exactly what Aaron Rodgers is. Our offense, was never catered to a quarterback with even the slightest mobility. That's why Russell Wilson really didn't blend well or mesh well with the offense. My other sort of in-between team that I'm on is Kansas City. I believe that Kansas City could purely and completely go either way.
Personally, I'm sorry. I have to disagree with the Steelers pick. I think that I've been burned so many times as a Steelers fan. Each time you think they're going to do well and they fall apart at the end. I feel like the same thing. It's leading up to that story once again. I don't really believe too much in the teams they face. They did well against the Cleveland defense, who has been pretty well thus far. But I feel like the Steelers, there's going to get to that end of the season. They're going to go up against those tough teams. They're going to go against a healthy Lamar Jackson when he finally comes back. And I feel like things are going to fall apart once again. Even if they win the division, which it looks like they're able to do, I don't really believe them really winning and making it super far, just based off of prior experiences, and there just hasn't been too much of a change for me to really believe in them and think that they're able to actually make it to the big game.
You mentioned the Chargers and the Colts earlier. A little pushback on that. I think for the Chargers, they're not deep enough to sustain these injuries, and you look at Joe Alt being out, Najee Harris being out, Quinn Johnston's being hurt right now too, and Rashawn Slater at the beginning of the year. That's a huge loss for them. And they've been playing not too great of football lately. And for me, I actually have the Broncos replacing the Chargers in that category, because for me, the Broncos have the best defense in the league. They've recorded 30 sacks on the year, only allowing other teams 15.8 points per game without their best linebacker in Dre Greenlaw. And when a team's coached by Sean Payton, only good things are going to happen offensively. And on the Colts' perspective, every year we see 2 to 3 teams that just have a fluke of a season. And for me, the Colts and the Seahawks, they're looking like it's going to be that for them. So, yeah.
All right.
Thoughts on that, Marcus?
The reason why I I see your points with the Chargers. Also, I want to acknowledge that Khalil Mack isn't the youngest player in the world or on the team anymore. I feel like having him and Bosa on the defensive line is sort of trying to cling to former glory, and it's not there anymore. It's not there.
Well, yeah, and Mack, he's very monumental to their defense. And obviously you mentioned Joey Bosa, who's now on the Buffalo Bills. I just don't think this defense is deep enough to sustain those type of injuries. So for me, I think the Chargers are going to make the playoffs, but do I think they're going to make a deep run? No.
Yeah, and I want to talk more about our pretenders here. I know we have a Steelers fan and two people that may not trust in the Steelers as much this year. I kind of want to hear from you guys. Who are the biggest pretenders, maybe the biggest frauds in the NFL right now?
I want to say personally, I think the Eagles, they came off of, an amazing run they had going to the big game last year, and what they've been doing overall looked good last year, but now it's not looking as strong. That run game isn't as strong. Barkley isn't breaking off those big runs. They almost lost to the Rams once again. They got off a blocked field goal. They're coming off of 2 game losses, one to the Giants, which I wasn't really too sure on. I know Dart's been doing pretty well, but I don't think they're like the best team in the NFC as well. I feel like the Eagles, there's just been too much where they've been falling back on overall, and they've been unable to really sustain that run that we thought they were able to do. It doesn't look like that anymore. So right now, if I had to pick a team in the NFC, it wouldn't be them.
It's funny with the Eagles because when you look at the Eagles, there's so much tension surrounding that team. And last year they were able to get away with that because they were just so stacked offensively and defensively. But like this year, they're on thin ice, and you saw Zadarius Smith retire earlier this week too. I just don't think they have the pieces to kind of overcome that tension within that team.
Yeah.
I truly don't think that the Eagles have a head coach who is the man that he thinks he is. Nick Sirianni isn't the guy that everybody thinks he is. You can only call one play in your playbook, and it's the tush push, and it's the play that nobody can stop. It's not even a fundamental play within football itself. It's just a glorified QB sneak. And you have a quarterback that squats 600 pounds, and it's just an unfair competitive advantage. The league has wanted to bang on the table to get the play banned. So I think it's purely time for the league to sort of override the vote system and just shut it down altogether and make the Eagles play an actual offense.
Yeah, and to kind of backpack on the Eagles, a team that has been a winning team in the past. I want to talk about the Chiefs again because I think, Ryan, you mentioned and you said that you thought they were contenders, but they are 3-3 this year, and I have seen a lot of fans have a lot of doubts in that team. Do you guys think that the Chiefs are contenders this year?
I mean, how many times do we start the season with that question, even in the first 5 weeks? Like, are the Chiefs really contenders? And every year, there they are in the AFC Championship or even the big game. So for me, until the Chiefs prove to us that they're not the same team we've seen in the last 5 years, then I'm going to say yes, they're still contenders.
And to go off that, I feel like a lot of teams are injured at the moment. You mentioned the Chargers. I agree with that. I feel like Herbert has the ability to really carry that team to the stratosphere, getting into the playoffs. But the Chiefs are getting actually healthy. Rashid Rice is coming back. All the receivers are getting healthy, and they just beat down on a Lions team, which I think is really well formulated thus far, and they've been doing well in this season. So I have a lot of belief in the Chiefs. I have a lot of belief in Mahomes, and I feel like the Chiefs dynasty isn't quite done yet as we thought it might be.
To add to your point about the Chiefs, the offense has never been the problem. There's always been inconsistencies out the wazoo and galore on the defense. The tackling is an insane problem. The effort is an insane problem. Chris Jones has just forgotten how to be a leader and bring that mental toughness to the locker room. Patrick Mahomes is the leading rusher on the team. Your quarterback should not be your best running back, period. The arguing and the things of that nature that are in Kansas City's locker room as well as Philadelphia's locker room. Also, another team that I wanted to quickly acknowledge before we wrapped up was the Miami Dolphins. They're just, first of all, Tua shouldn't even be playing football physically. Tua Tagovailoa is really, it's sad to see him play. He can't even read a defense anymore. It's really sad for him.
Yeah, well, sadly, we will probably come back to this NFL topic later in the coming weeks here, but that is all the time we have this week. Be sure to join us next week at the same Pioneer time, the same Pioneer channel, and the same Pioneer Sideline.